Something I've been feeling lately, or just something I've been realizing within myself, and I hope you can hear me. It's the fact that most people don't care. Most people are not truly thinking about you necessarily. And that's not necessarily a horrible thing. Like, it's not totally narcissistic because I feel like that's what every human should do in their life because it's your life. You know what I mean? And of course, we should collaborate and come together as human beings. But I also feel like there are moments where people, and myself included, you do things for, of course, the validation of another person, but it's also doing things to be on the mind of another person and feeling that comforting feeling of knowing that someone's thinking about you. It's a good feeling to know that you hold mental capacity in someone's mind or someone cares about you. You know, it's good to feel that, but I also feel like it can create this strong delusion because, for one, you don't know if that person's thinking about you. And even if they are thinking about you, there's not a concrete piece of evidence that you could use to truly know what they're thinking about. I just feel like when you get into the conversation of the human brain and people having different psychological frameworks in their life, I personally have been realizing that you can't control somebody's thoughts and you also don't know their thoughts. You know, someone can tell you what they're thinking, but there's such a big realm or just a big playground when it comes to the mind. You know what I mean? And so I feel like the deeper conversation of what I'm saying right now is I'm starting to feel this freeing feeling of realizing that someone's thoughts are simply not my responsibility, but also I don't know their thoughts. And also, most people aren't really thinking to begin with. And most people are usually not thinking about another person in the way that they think. But I mean, sometimes it may be that way. But I just feel like I've been feeling this, this, like, I guess, prosperous feeling or something's propelling me into this new way of life where it's like, I have to do it because I not only want to, but because it's part of my purpose and my assignment. And I quite literally just cannot attach myself to the thoughts of another person because what is that going to do? And then also when you think about worrying about the thoughts of another person, what is that going to do? You know what I mean? So it's like I am going to do the things in this life that are first in alignment with my purpose and what I'm on this earth to do, but then also from my own enjoyment or my own interest, because I do think that I'm not going to say every human, but most humans have interest in certain things for a reason. And I feel like, whenever the world causes conformity or makes you want to box yourself into this box of validity, it seems like you have to do those things. And if you don't, you're a nerd or like you're weird or you're just, and that's not a fun feeling, feeling like you're left out, feeling like people are viewing you like, who is this person? Who's this guy? Who's this girl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, ew, like it's not the best feeling to get cringed at. And I'm just going to be honest, but that's part of the process. And I'm only saying that because I'm just getting back to the point that most people have interest, and I just think that there needs to be more of an agenda on going after those interests, but in a purposeful way. And so I'm just tying that back to the fact that I have to do that myself and I can't let what somebody else has going on to affect me. And I think also when I was a child and just even still to this day, I do feel emotions like very deeply. I feel emotions very deeply, and I've always been a very expressive kid. Growing up, I've always been very social and just like playful as a kid. And also I always just had a big personality. Like even people would usually tell me that, which I could agree with because, if I was sad, I was sad. If I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm silly, goofy, and I'm just going to express what I feel. But I feel like that also kind of caused, the topic of this video, it caused me to want to know what somebody's thinking, or like want to know, just, I guess, spending too much time trying to figure out what I'm not really meant to figure out, and taking the time and energy from that aspect of life to now purpose and creativity and, helping others and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like I said earlier, incorporating my interest in it as well and not caring what other people have to say, because also another thing that I feel like I've been going through is realizing what the negative thing did. Like realizing, okay, what does worrying do? Nothing, right? If it obviously doesn't produce something, why not do the opposite and not worry? Like if being lazy and not operating out of purpose, we've seen what that does. It does nothing. It just keeps you in this constant loop of thinking and saying you're going to do something, and just fantasizing about something, even though you haven't even done anything. And so I think also too, when it comes to saying what you're going to do all the time, even if it's talking to yourself or like journaling it or whatever, I think there comes a point where you actually shouldn't even say anything at all, because there's a dopamine hit that comes from saying something and being excited about it. And so your brain senses that your brain releases that dopamine rush, and that dopamine is the reward system. So when you say things and you're so excited, or even if you're kind of talking to other people about what you're going to do and you're kind of just like psyching yourself up about it, it makes your brain think that you actually did it, even though you didn't. You know what I mean? And so that's what I was kind of saying about delusion and being in misalignment with your body, your psychology, your spirit, all those things. Because when your brain senses that, and it, again, releases that dopamine, that's the reward system. And so now you feel this good, pleasurable feeling at first, but you don't actually do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? And so I just think that's so important in, this type of conversation as well, because there's just so much to do, so much to experience in this life. And I feel like everyone has these unique little things to share to the world, because, we're all special in our own ways. We all think differently. We all move differently. We all have different experiences and different things that we've gone through in this life, highs and lows. We all have different cultural, upbringings and stuff like that. So I just think there comes a point where, there needs to just be more introspectiveness in people, because I feel like even this video alone, this stems from having awareness, and this stems from truly just like not running away from my problems. Because that, again, like I was saying earlier, like if we see what something has done for so long, to do the opposite. So for me personally, it's like if I've seen what running away from my problems does, which is numbs me, or it makes me want to do something that distracts me, or it makes me just, honestly never have the ability to heal or move on. So let's do the opposite. Let's not run away from our problems. And let's, not only when people say like, oh, it's time to face your problems, like I feel like that's such a vicious way to think about it, because I feel like then you make it like a battle or like a fight, which it is a fight. But at the same time, I feel like when you're like, time to face your problems, it kind of subconsciously tells your brain to be in this fight or flight mode. And honestly, like, it's not really a problem. Like, that's another thing too, like thinking something's wrong with you when there's nothing wrong. It's just the things of this world and just like culture in general and just society, and things that are like systematically deeply embedded in society and culture and just pop culture, like all of that, it's that causing problems. You know what I mean? And so I think whenever you're like face your problems with so much, like just in such a derogatory way to yourself, it makes you feel like it adds like another stressor, like, okay, I have to like fight my problems. Like, so I think in opposition of that, there needs to be a mindset, and there needs to be a mindset shift from time to face my problems to time to become aware and be reflective, take the time to make room for my thoughts to pass and, you know, allow the flow of what you've gone through in life to genuinely flow through you and to understand. Because I feel like whenever you make that shift, it allows you to not feel like, okay, if you cry, something's wrong with you, or if you feel anger, like something's wrong with you. Like a lot of things, yes, may have happened to you, but there's always light at the end of it. You know what I mean? And like it's hard for that light to be seen when there's so much just bottled in. So I think when it comes to facing problems, it's more so allowing the flow of the problems to move out. You know what I mean? Because just stagnant energy, trauma, you know, complacent things, you know, suppressing that. And I know nobody says this, but that's what causes a lot of the sicknesses and just the problems that we see happening in the world is because people didn't have someone to talk to. So, you know, people didn't know what it meant to do that, like to know that you're a human being, you're going to feel emotions and they need to pass through, you know, because a lot of people it's, oh, don't cry, you're weak, don't feel this, you know what I'm saying? So this video definitely just made like, I don't even know what type of turn it was, but if you stay to the end of this video, thank you, I really appreciate that. But this platform honestly is just, I'm just gonna be real vulnerable. If I have helpful tips to share, I will, because why not? You know what I mean? I think a lot of things have come to really just fuel distraction. So yeah. But have a good day. Another beautiful day to be alive. Another beautiful day to experience, to learn, to love someone else, to let the emotions flow through. Another day to observe, another day to start over. You know, isn't that the crazy, beautiful thing about life is that you can, if God wakes you up the next day, if you wake up the next day, you have another chance and you have the ability and the power to make a 360 if you want to, you know what I mean? So I think that's a sign since that plane is pretty loud. So see you in the next video.